Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Lower Makefield Farmland Preservation Incorporated board meeting for January. My name is Dennis Stedman. I'm the vice president. Our president, Mike Blank, cannot attend tonight, so I'll be running the meeting. I'd like to share my screen and share the agenda. Can everyone see that?
Yep.
Okay. Very good. So we do have a busy agenda tonight. We do have a very hard stop at 6 o'clock, or 7 o'clock, and I know one of our board directors has to stop probably at 6:50. So we'll try to be pretty abbreviated to the extent we can. The first order of business is approval of our November meeting minutes. For that, I'll turn it over to George.
Okay, thanks, Dennis. I'd like to make a motion that we approve the meeting minutes from our November 15th meeting. We've all seen them and reviewed them previously. So do I have a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
So moved.
Seconded. All in favor? Say aye.
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 Okay, meeting minutes from November 15th are approved.
And you have the next agenda item as our secretary, George.
Yes.
Each year we have an election of officers.
Right. So being this the January meeting, we'd like to present the candidates we have. We'll just walk through each of the positions that we have, ask for nominations, seconded, and then we can vote on it as we go through. So let's start at the top with chairman or president. Do I have a motion to nominate the president or chairman of our board?
I'll nominate Michael Blank, our incumbent.
Second.
Okay. All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? So moved. So that's taken care of. Okay, so for our second position is vice chair. Do I have a motion for nominating our vice chair?
I'd like to make a motion to nominate Dennis Stedman.
Anybody would like to second that motion?
Second it, George.
Okay, thank you, Sean. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Approved. Dennis, congratulations.
Thank you.
Third position is for treasurer. Do I have a nomination for treasurer?
I'd make a motion to nominate Dan Benkowski as our treasurer of the board.
Okay. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Dan, congratulations. And for the final position is that of secretary. Do I have a nomination for that?
I'll make a motion to nominate George Hines.
Seconded.
Second.
Thank you, Dennis. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, I guess I'm reelected. So that takes care of all.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. All the four officers are same as this past year. And so, Dennis, I guess we can move on to the treasurer's report, and Dan.
Yes.
All right. I'm just getting logged back in here to have it in front of me. All right, couple quick things. Our only expense since our last meeting was for prep for Robert Small and Associates, and that was for prep of our compilation, and it was also with respect to completing QuickBooks for 22 and for prepayment for 23 purposes. And so that was for $4,200. That was all in line with what we had agreed to earlier in the last year. So that was paid And then we have, with respect to our income, we have physically received 2 checks so far for 2023 rent, one from Charland Farms and one from Calavita Tree Farm. I know there's at least one other that was received at the township building already that was sent to me that I haven't received yet. And so as soon as we get those, I'll let everybody know. We'll get those deposited, and I'll follow up with anybody else if we got to follow up with anybody else. But I think that sounds like they're already kind of in the mail. So,
Okay.
and that's all we have.
Great. Thank you, Dan. We appreciate that. As everyone knows, we manage a number of properties, parcels in the township. Each day, week, month, there's potential issues at those properties. That's what's coming up next, are some issues and updates. There's 2 of them called out on this agenda, but I think this is under this agenda item is where any director should bring up any property issue that that has arisen since our last meeting, whether it's on this agenda or not. Sean, you would be first up with the winter work by Cochrane Landscaping.
Sure, I'm happy to go into that, Dennis. Just a quick question. We've gone through a couple of very key items. Do we want to see if there's any public comment before diving into some of these that take a little bit longer?
Oh, we certainly can. Is there any public comment to our message to our meeting organizer here? Our meeting organizer may not be ready to respond at this time.
Okay, no problem.
Okay.
Winter work by Corcoran Landscaping. So, just a quick refresh. So, we contract out 10 winter days at a set day rate for jobs. We gave Matt Corcoran a lay of the land of what we'd like to achieve this year. We held back kind of 2 days to see how the projects go and either use them for another project or to continue on any that he was unable to finish. To date, they have finished the first one, which was allocating 2 days behind 2015 to 2019 Leadham's Drive, which is the Stackhouse farm. They elevated trees, removed a lot of brush, cut it all down, and made it look like much more consistent with the rest of the buffer area. So they spent the 2 days there, and they did invoice us just within the last half hour for those 2 days.
I was just going to say that too. I see this email here now. So.
Yeah. So that job is complete and invoiced. The next one, I believe, will be the 1 day spent on Farmview Drive, and then kind of our larger project for the year, which is approximately 5 days between 1367 and 1385 Brentwood Road over on Makefield Brook. Right now, the crew is just struggling a little bit with the ground. So early in the morning when it's frozen, they're working on our properties. When it thaws, Dennis been going over to the next line item here, which is Clearview, because they can kind of stay on the pavement. So I know they put in certainly a full 2 days over here at Stackhouse. I know George has seen it firsthand. I've seen it firsthand by driving it. I haven't had a chance to walk back there yet, but I'll do so soon. But visually, it looks good. Yeah, it's wet. So, each morning they can only work there from very early until it kind of thaws, and then they have to get the trucks out of there. So I'm sure we'll see some progress on the other jobs once it dries out a bit. But that's that. I've been in contact with Matt, and they'll hit each of their targets. I'm sure of it.
Okay, that's great. I know we've had some other property issues on Makefield Brook, the wooded area along Dolington Road, close to where Dolington crosses 295. That's historically been a bit of a potential party scene when the weather is nice, with beer bottles and debris back there. We put this last fall or summer, we put up some no trespassing signs. We cleaned up that area. Sean here in the last week or so was out there and noticed more debris. I filed a report with Lower Makefield Police. They said that they would inform their night shift to kind of patrol that spot. There's a natural pullover spot there. It's kind of a temptation, I guess, for that kind of activity. So they said that they would pay more attention to that. And then Sean, you want to describe what was going on at Clearview?
Yeah, you highlighted the Makefield Brook one well. I mean, the fresh beer bottles there, some trees cut down in the woods. It looks like there's actually even some tire tracks back in there that somebody's even actually trying to get back in there with vehicles. So that natural little pull-off spot there is certainly an issue. I'm not sure what we can do there. Clearview. So obviously we've been out on the properties a lot in the last month and a half, dealing with some of the hunting stuff that we've been doing. But I was on Clearview the other day, and the day prior on my way to work, I saw some mud marks out on the road leading down to the highway. And I was hoping I wasn't seeing what I was seeing. But the next day when I went into Clearview, somebody drove up that road, went into the field, was doing nuts in the field, and then exited, not by the road, but exited down over the hill through the farming area. So, there's a decent amount of activity back there. You can see it. I haven't been overly familiar with that area until just recently, but in speaking with people who are back there, it's common for them to see cars kind of ripping up and down that road. And now in the farming area itself, I installed a camera at the entrance. I installed a no trespassing sign that it's under surveillance, and I put 2 orange cones about 10 feet in from where the old chain used to be, so that if someone does pull in to go back and check the towers, or someone's pulling in to do work or whatever, they're not going to hinder traffic on the road there. But hopefully the cones will deter future activity. I think Dennis has also made the Lower Makefield Township Police aware of that. But definitely too much activity going on both there and at Makefield Brook. Debris, garbage dumping, you name it, it's all taking place there. Trespassing.
Yeah, that was reported to the police. I mean, making donuts in farm fields and causing ruts and things is obviously damaging and vandalism to the agricultural property. So we'll try to keep an eye on that.
So were the people, if you can tell, were they driving up the access road there? Like that
it looks like they went up
road,
the
or were they
access
driving
road.
right up into the field?
Dan, I guess it's tough to tell whether they entered up over the knoll into the field and came out the access road, or in the access road, cut into the field and did donuts and then went out the field, which is what I actually think happened, because the tires were really muddied up when they exited and went out onto the road. I actually saw mud marks on the road the next day, but was hoping it was from like a worker or something. But when I looked closer, it was certainly not.
Yeah. And then just a reminder, and for anyone watching, right, there's a sliver there that's owned by the township. And I think that access road point is owned by the township, and it's very narrow up to the back. And then, but that's the same access point that, we use when we go up in there, and that Farmland Farms uses when they go up and kind of go up the whole way back to the end of that access road and then come back around the back side of those trees into the field there. But just a reminder that is like that. I think the road is on the township side.
It is.
Of the line.
It is. It is. And that's the same road that the workers use to go back and check the towers, because I've been there recently when I watched them drive back up through there. So they use that access road as well. So hence the reason it's not chained, it's not locked, it's nothing. And to your point, it's the townships. But for now, there's cones on it. There's a camera. There's a sign. If it's younger folks, hopefully we can deter them by them knowing that there are eyes on it.
I just I'm sorry if you said this already. Was the township alerted to this one?
Yes.
Okay. I just don't want them to come and take down all of our stuff that we put up to deter people then too. That's all.
Yeah.
Right.
They were alerted.
Yeah. And on that property, the other issue is the large row of white pines along that driveway that constitutes the boundary between the tower's property and the township driveway. We had asked the township to trim those trees up quite a ways and prune those limbs back. They were damaging Tim Stewart's equipment going in there, scratching up his truck and the mirrors and things. That really the limbs had just gotten too much in the way. I did hear from Derek Fuller. He said they were going to try to finish that project this week or maybe next. Sean, you were there most recently. I don't know if it was.
It looks to be about done. They started on Sunday. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Today's Tuesday. They started on Monday. Did a decent amount of work Monday limbing up. Today it looks like they came back and finished the limbing up portion. Okay. And some of the chipping. It doesn't look like it's completely finished. They still have some equipment there, but I'd be surprised if the project is not done by tomorrow.
Yeah. And John, just so you know, that was a request that we made late last year of the township, and Derek Fuller said, he had to check and see if he had room in his budget for 23. Yep. And here it is, the third week in January, and it's done. So we really appreciate that responsiveness. That was wonderful. Other property issues that anyone wants to bring up, specific property issues with our parcels at this juncture? If not, let's move on to some policy discussions and actions. Sean and I have been very active in trying to manage the deer hunting that goes on our properties. Not all the properties are suitable for hunting, but several are. And over the years, we've had a red tag program from the Game Commission, which allows the harvesting of antlerless deer outside of regular deer season when it's causing unusual agricultural damage. And that program's been running for about 3 years. And what that has done, because that's very tightly controlled and each hunter is registered under a red tag utilization, it's given us a roster of hunters that we know are on the property and have our permission. In managing that program, and then through the regular hunting season, we know there's some hunting stands and some hunters potentially on the property that do not have our permission to hunt there. And as we've tried to manage that, Sean has been very creative. We've gone out and we've tagged every hunting stand, every tree stand, ladder stand that we have found on our properties with a tag, saying that the owner should contact either Sean or I. Our phone numbers are on it. We're representing Farmland Preservation as the property owner, and we ask them to contact us to get proper permission. Over the last couple months, how many stands did we tag, Sean?
Dennis, 22 out of 24 stands are registered to hunters that are now on our new roster. Okay. So there's 2 stands that we've yet to hear from, but 24 stands. And so what this is all leading up to is Sean and I working together on this over the last year. We've drafted what we think should become a hunting policy for farmland preservation, to give some rules of engagement, some rules of the road. This is based on our experience. We're not looking for a vote tonight to approve this as a new policy, but we thought it would be very appropriate to certainly to begin the discussion. So I'd like to see if I can bring that up. If everyone can see this, our goal in creating this
draft policy. And I know this has been circulated. John, I'm sorry, you've not seen this. But we know our farming in this community of Lower Makefield is economically stressful. These small parcels are not, and congested roads and things is not conducive to agriculture all the time. And one of the things that is challenging our farmers is crop damage from the surplus deer population, which is only gotten worse over the last decade from my observations. So what we've drafted here is a beginning of a policy, and really for three reasons: because our farming tenants are suffering tremendous damage and loss. Anything we can do to properly control the deer population is productive for their agricultural output. We also want to do what we can to assure the safety of the farmers, the safety of the neighbors, and the safety of the hunters. I mean, we have 24 deer stands in what is some pretty small proximity areas. So we want to be very careful and cautious. And we want to do what we can to assure that any hunting on our property is conducted both ethnically and within all PA Game Commission regulations. That's very, very important. We don't want any cowboys out there misbehaving, breaking rules, breaking laws. We're the property owners. They need our permission. They need the permission of the farmer to be on our to hunt on our property. All of the farmland preservation property is no trespassing property. It's not open to the public. It's not open to anyone other than the farming tenant. The exception is those hunters that we explicitly give permission to hunt those fields for deer, archery, clearly archery only. So I don't want to necessarily read this all the elements of this policy here in the meeting. We tried to keep it to a page and to something that we thought was pretty digestible. So at this point, Sean, if you want to make any comments about it, and I'd ask for the other directors to give some feedback to the draft that we've compiled here.
Dennis, I'll gladly give a few comments just so you're aware. The only thing we're seeing on your screen is still the agenda for tonight. So I'm not sure if you can put that up or not. I'd say to me, the most important thing here is that, to Dennis's point, we want to properly control what's going on and get proper permission. So, you know how hunting, goes, someone has permission to hunt a piece of property. And the next thing you know, they tell a friend or a buddy, hey, I hunt here, why don't you set up a stand by mine or whatever? And, I would not have thought we were going to find 24 stands on these three parcels, Makefield Brook, Longshore, and Clearview, but we did. The good news is, because of the tags that we put out there, people have contacted us. We have an open line of communication with them. They have our numbers. We have a brand new roster with everyone's name, phone number, their hunting license number, their license plate number. We can get in contact with them easily. Each stand is now registered to a hunter. If there's an issue anywhere, it's very simple. I know what stands are which. Dennis would know which stands are which. Anyone on the board can know which stands are which and exactly who they're registered to. So a lot of good things have come from doing it, from being able to kind of police this a bit better. The two stands that we haven't heard back from, I would believe we haven't heard back for a reason. And Dennis and I kind of have a plan. If time goes by and we don't hear on those two stands, most likely we'll address those stands separately. But the one thing we would be changing here, some hunters like to hunt out of blinds. As you know, blinds are placed down on the ground as opposed to up in a tree. Really changes the trajectory of an arrow. Instead of shooting downward towards the ground, they go out. We would like to do away with blinds on our property, period. Obviously for a couple of reasons, safety being one, and discreetness being another. It's kind of difficult to see a ladder stand up in a tree when you drive by one of our properties, but it is not that difficult to see a ground blind, especially with where some of them have been placed. So we'd like to kind of do away with that. Away from that, those are kind of my bigger takeaways from what Dennis and I have been working on over the last 6 months or so.
I'm curious. First, it's an amazing response rate. That's quite phenomenal, really. Really unexpected, I think. That's a great point on the blinds. Do we know if BOMA, do they use blinds at all? They don't that I'm aware of. Do we even know that?
I can't speak for them, but based on my conversations with them, my recollection is their policy is they only are shooting towards the ground. They're only shooting from an elevated
I thought that was the case.
perch.
Yeah,
I know them to be elevated as well.
Yeah. That's and that's responsible archery hunting, particularly in such dense areas. Now, in this draft policy, we did say, as Sean did, that hunting blinds are not allowed unless they're subject to explicit exceptions where there may be a location or two where it's appropriate, and specifically in Clearview, because there aren't some of those locations may be acceptable, but we're going to be very stringent, and our default mode is no blinds. If someone wants to make a case otherwise, we'll listen, but it's going to be a rare exception, I would say.
So
that makes sense.
Sean, there was one blind over on Stackhouse where they're building a new home. Is that still there, or has that been removed?
Unfortunately, George, it is still there. I don't know why. The hunter there had permission to have it there until the crop was harvested. The crop was harvested 2 days before Thanksgiving on that farm, and it's still there. So just another reason why they'll be gone.
Yeah.
Is that on our property though?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. It was set up last year, was set up again this year, but it'll be the last year. I would say one more thing. One other thing that we're changing here, and is going to go a long way, permission needs to be granted by the property owner, the Farmland Preservation Corporation, as well as the property that we're leasing to, so the farmer as well. And that's a bit of a change. In the past, it seems like it could have been one or the other, but we've had conversations with the steward as recently as last month when we had our sit down for the December meeting, and Sam talking about running across people he's never seen. So this will be good in the sense that when this roster is 100% complete, we will send it to Sam and Tim. I feel as though we'll likely send it to Mr. Colavita as well, just so that he has an idea of kind of what we're doing, how we're kind of managing the properties hunting wise. But I think it is important that permission is coming from the farmer and from us. This way there's no more gray area as to, I don't recognize that person, that the farmland must have given them permission, or vice versa.
And fortunately, with the dialogue that we've had with some of these hunters over the years, I mean, and listen, we're granting permission to quality individuals. They're hunting properly. They're hunting by the rules. They respect the landowner. They respect the land, and they react that way. So I think, Dan, your comment about the response rate, we're fortunate that we've somehow managed to screen out some folks that might be tempted to misbehave, and the hunters themselves keep us informed of that, where if someone comes wandering in and is not respecting other hunters or not respecting the land, they know to reach out to Sean or I. So it's a good it's kind of a good system.
Just one little comment on number 2. Hunter must have explicit permission per specific parcel. And next sentence, permission can be revoked at any time.
Right. Okay. And I like that.
I think this is there's been incredible progress on this front over the last couple of years. So thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. It was a great project to work on. Got to meet a lot of new people and got to walk the properties in a completely different way, which was nice.
Yeah.
So Dennis, is the plan to then circulate this one last time amongst the board and then at the February meeting approve it?
Yeah, that's what I'd like to do. I'd like everyone to take a look at it, and let's refine it, expand it, edit whatever we're comfortable with, and approve it in February, and then we'll pass it out to the hunters. Anyone who wants a red tag, anyone who has a stand, they're going to get a copy of our policy, and it become part of an official farmland preservation policy that that we can turn to when there's a question or a doubt. Okay, here are the rules of engagement. We've so far we've been kind of using common sense and making them up as we go, and that's been fine because it got us to this point. And if we can all agree on these points, then I think we can seal it up. So,
question, Dennis, and
yes,
I've been away from this from a little while, so I'm getting back up to speed. But BOMA, they've had a chance. How many of the registered hunters are BOMA hunters? Do you have a rough idea? Is it a significant portion?
None.
Okay.
BOMA is its own kind of organization. We've given, when we have red tags, it's a good point, John, because we'll share this policy with BOMA. We've given BOMA permission on one parcel, the Leadham's parcel that backs up to grounds for sculpture. Help me out, the
Garden of Reflection.
Thank you, Garden of Reflection. And so they hunt. That's the only parcel of ours that they hunt.
Okay.
And they manage their own hunters. So these are non-BOMA hunters.
The only question I might have is we track with BOMA the total number of harvested deer.
Yes.
And I'm wondering, we would have some of that data from the tags, right? As to how many are taken out or no?
Well, it's a good point. In the red tag program, we do, because they have to be reported each month, and any harvests have to be reported. And then any tags that are not used have to be recollected and sent back to the Game Commission. So we get those data. What we don't get any formal reports on harvests during the regular season. And it's a good point that we perhaps could make that a condition of hunting on our property, is when you have a harvest, report it to us, antlerless, antlered, a date, etc. I'm open to that. I mean, we haven't required that in the past, but I'm open to it. What do you think, Sean?
I have mixed views on it. One, I mean, they're what they're doing is between them and the Game Commission once they harvest a deer.
Right.
But I wouldn't. I'd be open to it if we felt that it made our hunting program more secure.
So I don't know that it does that. Asking for that data makes it more secure. Part of the challenge with the data we have about deer is we have it from only a couple sources. So we have the BOMA confirmed harvests, and then, quite frankly, we have traffic reports of deer incidents. They give us the other part of that equation. And those aren't fully reported, meaning that there are a number of interactions with deers that are not reported either to the police or the Game Commission. Situations where deer run into cars and then keep going. So I'm not 100% sure, that you would have to make changes now, because I don't know. We're not getting rough. It's more directionally we're looking. Are we harvesting enough deer? We also don't have population numbers, which I wish that's something we should look at from the Game Commission. that's really a separate policy than the protection of the farmland that you're concerned about. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't burden this with that. It's just more, I'm curious to see from a general the deer issues that we have, you know.
No, I get it, and I mean, there's part of me that says it'd be good information to have. There's another part of me that says, we don't want to micromanage these hunters either.
Yep.
We want them to be successful, and we don't want to play Big Brother. But we do want to be responsible and responsible hunting on our land. So, let's. I mean, anything that Lower Makefield can do to reduce the deer population, of course, is worthwhile, because while Boma's harvested quite a few, the population has tended to grow over the years. So we don't have our arms around it completely, that's for sure. Well, on this, I would ask that we all take a close look at this policy. Email me any suggested edits, changes. We'll update that, circulate that, and hopefully, if we're all in concurrence, can approve that in February. Okay. Great. Appreciate that. What is the time? We're 38.
I think you
Directors,
could do this operating principles really quick.
can we? That was my question. Let's do
You
it.
want me to explain too, since I
Go
kind
for
of
it.
remember so first of all, I don't think you need to share this, and this can just be
Okay.
a reference to the board then to go to review this, but basically there's this annual review of operating principles that we have on the agenda. This was something that Mike put together 2 years ago, I want to say, maybe longer than 2 years ago at this point. And it was really just about, good operating principles for a board. It doesn't get into details of nuance of certain things, but it's really in light of keeping a board operating, communicating, things like that. So Mike has this as had this as a January item to refresh and make sure everyone has taken a look at it, and if we have any changes to it. And I know that Mike also provides this, or has provided this in the past when we've had new board members join, and he's given it to George. I'm assuming that when you started, this was something that Mike gave to you at that point in time. I think he's done that in the past. So I think I think we can kind of leave it there, Dennis, if that works from your side. If everyone can kind of take a look, just refresh their memories of these operating principles, and if they have any questions or any proposed changes, to throw them out there to the rest of the board.
Yeah, I mean, we certainly can. Just for this board's information, as I have been chairing the ad hoc property committee, we're coming up to some decisions and recommendations, and I pirated the section from this board's operating principles on decision making, those 4 bullets on decision making, and presented them to the ad hoc property committee, which they liked. We discussed. We gave credit to Mike and Farmland Preservation for that, sourcing that, and we're now in the process of revising the decision making elements just a little bit for that committee. But I think it is important that we once a year review those kinds of policies and procedures, and it makes for more effective stewardship of this nonprofit and these properties. If you saw, there was one suggested edit in the decision-making process that I had circulated. Any comments on that?
Sounded
I
fine.
think it's already included in what's saved to our SharePoint.
I had it as a highlighted thing, as a proposal. If it's already in there, I wasn't aware. Okay.
If I remember correctly, right, this is consensus means that all opinions have been heard, understood, and potentially documented. 100% agreement is not always achievable, but 100% listening and understanding is.
Correct.
That's with your comment, right?
Yeah, it's the 100% listening and understanding.
Yeah,
It was
so that's
mentioned.
already, Mike already has it in there.
Okay. All right. Very good. Very good. All right. Is everyone comfortable with those? Any, no need to revise? That's great.
Sure.
That's great. Any other business? Any other business?
I have one item.
Yes.
I think I've been on this board for 8 or 9 years now. I can't even remember. And while from a supervisor perspective, this may not be the most glamorous supervisor liaison kind of board.
It's one of my favorites, by the way.
I do want to say that, John, it's a pleasure to have you back as our liaison. I think over my 8 or 9 years, I think this will be the only time that I've been with somebody that's repeated. And I think over that time period, you have by far been the most interactive, supportive, engaged liaison supervisor that we've worked with. So happy to have you back.
Thank you.
Here, here.
I agree.
I agree. I agree. He's gone out
My
and
weed
walked
torch ready.
You've gone out and walked the fields with us.
Yes.
I love it. I love it. Under other business, another deer hunting related issue. The Game Commission has modified the red tag program this year. I have received voluminous mailings from them. Whereas before I submitted an application at the beginning of the year, and they sent me red tags to distribute to hunters, and the hunters had to sign them out and bring them back to me, etc. Now, the red tag program, I just received this past week a bunch of envelopes. They're sending me a coupon for a red tag that I will distribute to the hunters. The hunters then go to any place where you can buy a hunting license, Dick's Sporting Goods or wherever they sell hunting licenses. They turn in the coupon, and that license retailer issues them their red tag. They then are individually responsible to do the monthly report that was there a harvest or not. It won't flow through me anymore. It'll be between that red tag hunter and the Game Commission. We'll stay in touch with them, and if they want, and then if they fill a red tag and they want another one, they have to come to me for another coupon. But so it's a different process. I have not done anything with these coupons yet. It won't take effect till January 27th or thereabouts. But before then, I will contact all the red tag hunters, get in touch with them so they can pick up a coupon, and we'll proceed as the Game Commission is instructing us. Just to let everyone know, it's a little different this year. They said it's to simplify it. We'll see, because government simplifying things isn't always simpler.
So Dennis, this past year you had 19 red tags, if I remember right from our previous. Does that mean you get 19 coupons this year, or whatever number the Game Commission feels is warranted?
Yes.
And then you give out those coupons to the respective hunters, and then they do what you just said. Okay.
Correct. And each coupon or red tag is specific to a property, and they issue one coupon per 5 acres of cropland. So if it's a 20-acre field, you're going to get 4 coupons or 4 red tags. It's a 40-acre field, you'll get 8. It's 1 per 5 acres. So it is specific to a parcel. You can't take a coupon from parcel to parcel. And the tags are really in the name of the farmer. They're in the name of Charland Farms. of Sam Stewart, because that's the damaged party by the deer crop damage. And so we're really administering as a property owner, administering that on behalf of Sam Stewart, just so we're all on the same page.
Okay.
Any
Dennis,
other
it sounds like
business?
Bob just went through it. One of the hunters on Bob's property contacted me and let me know that he got his coupon, took it to Dick's. It cost him $1.97. He walked out with it. So,
I could have
sounds like
been
it's
charging
being done
$1.
everywhere.
I could have been charging $1.97 all these years. Man,
Could have been retired.
okay. Any other business? Otherwise, we'll go to public comment. Anyone have anything else you want to raise? Hearing none. Our meeting organizers, do we have any public comment?
There's no public comment at this time.
Okay. Well, we wish there were. We want public input and education and information. So please don't hold back reaching out to Farmland Preservation if you're in Lower Makefield and have an issue with any of our properties. George, can we review action items?
Yeah, I only have two tonight, Dennis. The first one was you're going to basically circulate the draft hunting policy for all of us for any final comments / feedback. And then our goal is to approve the document formally at the February meeting. The second one I had basically was for each board member to look at the operating principles, refresh their understanding. If there were any suggestions for edits, get them back to you. And that was basically it.
Great. And I just thought of one other item that will for February. We did want to talk about perhaps a new approach to our December meeting. For those of us that were there, we had some ideas of our informal meeting in December, where we invite our tenants and stakeholders like John, Bob Small, different support people involved in our organization for a December gathering, and we wanted to talk about that. I know we did some exchanges by email, so I'll get that on the February agenda if that makes sense.
Sounds good.
All right, very good. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
It's 6:50, Sean. Is there a second?
Great job, Dennis. I'll second it.
Great. All right, meeting adjourned.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. John, good to see you back.
Yep. Thanks.
Good night.